Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a case. It's a really perplexing one. It's the Butcher of Mons.
Oh, yeah, the Butcher of Mons.
So picture this. Late 90s,
Late 90s, okay.
Mons, Belgium.
Okay.
And we have these chilling discoveries unfolding. Body parts, surgically dismembered, start turning up
Surgically dismembered. Oh, wow.
in bags all across the city.
Oh, that's creepy. Okay.
But here's the thing. This is not your typical dumping ground scenario.
How so?
These remains are found in really specific locations.
What do you mean by specific, like how,
Well, the names of the locations
the
has
names? Oh, wow.
almost like a theatrical precision.
Theatrical, what do you mean?
Yeah. So, for instance, Avenue de Bassa,
Avenue de Bessa.
which literally translates to Avenue of the Pelvises.
Oh, wow.
We've got the Haine River,
Haine River.
which means hatred,
Hatred, okay.
and Chemin de l'Inquiétude,
Chemin de l'Inquiétude.
the path of worry.
Path of worry. That's pretty creepy.
It's like the killer
It's almost as a...
was orchestrating this macabre performance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like each location was like a carefully chosen act.
A carefully chosen act.
So we have a killer who isn't just concealing bodies, right?
Yeah.
They're practically leaving clues in this twisted game of hide and seek.
A twisted game, yeah.
So who were the victims?
So the victims were 5 women,
5 women.
all with connections to the Mons railway station area.
Railway station.
Yeah.
Yep.
And their lives sadly reflected this kind of common thread of hardship,
Okay. Yeah.
whether it was socioeconomic or family struggles.
So their vulnerability could have played a role.
Possibly. I mean, it makes you wonder, if that played a role in their selection.
That's a chilling thought. Can you tell us more about them? Who were these women?
Sure. So we have Carmelina Russo. She was 42 when she vanished in January of 1996.
1996. Okay.
And then we have Martine Bon, 43 years old, a former prostitute.
Oh, wow.
Originally from France, she went missing in July of the same year.
Okay.
Then in December of 96, Jacqueline Leclerc disappeared.
Jacqueline Leclerc.
She was a 33-year-old mother of 4.
Oh, my gosh.
And fast forward to March 97, Natalie Godart vanished. She was 21.
Okay.
And then the final known victim was Begonia Valencia.
Begonia Valencia.
She was 37, disappeared from her home in the summer of 1997.
Wow. So investigators are basically piecing together these fragmented lives.
Yeah.
From these scattered remains. It's like this horrifying jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mutilation,
The mutilation.
must made even identifying them incredibly difficult.
It must have been so just impossible.
Yeah, it adds another layer to the mystery.
It really does. So
Yeah.
they had this special task force.
Yeah, it's called the Corpus's Cell.
Corpus cell.
Dedicated to these really complex murders.
Okay.
And they were faced with this, very daunting task of reconstructing identities.
From dismembered remains.
Exactly.
Wow. And the precision of the dismemberment, does that point to any specific kind knowledge?
I mean, it definitely indicates some level of anatomical knowledge, maybe even professional, which is unsettling.
Really unsettling. So
Yeah.
faced with these horrific crimes and this, really complex investigation,
Yeah.
what kind of challenges did the Belgian authorities face?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles they faced, despite the severity of the crimes, was limited resources.
Limited resources.
Yeah.
That's wild.
The case was initially classified as, quote, local,
Local.
which meant fewer investigators were dedicated to it.
Wow. I mean, this is clearly a case of just exceptional brutality.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they were limited in how they could investigate it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of pressure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, knowing that a killer was operating with this level of calculated cruelty,
Yeah.
it had to weigh on them.
So what was the scope of the investigation?
It was massive. To give you an idea of the scale, between 97 and 2010, nearly 1,000 complaints were filed.
1,000
Yeah. Just imagine trying to sift through all of that,
to find a lead.
A glimmer of a lead, like finding a needle in a haystack.
Did any individuals emerge as particularly strong suspects?
Well, there were several that caught their eye, but the one that really stands out is Smail Tulja.
Smail Tulja.
Okay.
This is where it gets really interesting. What made him such a compelling person of interest?
Well, his arrest in Montenegro in 2007 was pretty significant.
Montenegro. Okay.
He was suspected not only in the Mons murders, but also in similar crimes in the U.S. and Albania.
Wow.
So it becomes this international thing.
International, yeah.
He was convicted in Montenegro for the murder of Mary Beale,
Okay.
but never actually extradited to face charges for the Mons killings.
So we have this individual with a documented history of violence,
Yeah.
operating internationally,
Yeah.
but never definitively linked to the Butcher of Mons.
Yeah.
It feels like we're so close to a breakthrough, but then
Then in 2012, Tulja died in prison.
died in prison. So that potential avenue of investigation was closed off.
Yeah, unfortunately. Imagine the frustration for the investigator.
Yeah. So close to uncovering the truth, maybe.
And then it's just silenced forever.
We have gruesome murders, symbolic locations, a massive investigation, a suspect who dies before he can be questioned about the Mons case.
Yeah.
It's like we're staring at this twisted puzzle with some crucial pieces missing. Where does this leave us in terms of understanding the Butcher of Mons?
It leaves us with a real enigma. I mean, the identity of the Butcher of Mons is still a mystery. The case went cold, leaving behind all these unanswered questions. It's a real reminder of the evil that can linger out there.
It's almost impossible to believe that, despite such a large-scale investigation and a prime suspect like Tulja, we still don't know who the Butcher of Mons is. It's like looking into an abyss.
Yeah.
You're aware of the horror that happened there, but you can't see the face responsible.
And the psychology of this case is just unsettling. I mean, think about it. We're trying to understand someone who not only dismembered their victims with incredible precision, but also chose those locations, with names that practically echo their actions. It makes you wonder, were they trying to communicate something? Was this some twisted dialogue with the investigators?
But couldn't the locations just be a red herring? Maybe this was a deliberate attempt to mislead the investigation and throw everyone off.
That's a good point. The symbolism could be a facade, a way to divert attention from the real motives. But the locations are so specific, the names so closely tied to the body parts found there, it suggests a level of planning, of premeditation that's hard to ignore. It's like the killer was staging this macabre play, using the city itself as the stage.
It's chilling, imagining the killer scouting these locations, like a director planning a scene. The Haine River for a torso, Avenue de Bassins for pelvic remains. It's just cold, calculated cruelty.
And it adds to the complexity of the case, right? This isn't just a simple act of violence. This is someone who probably spent a lot of time planning and executing these crimes, which makes them that much harder to catch. It's this combination of premeditation and symbolism that makes the case so fascinating and so perplexing for investigators and, anyone interested in true crime.
That makes you wonder if investigators, even today, are still going over the details, looking for that one missed clue, that one thread that could unravel the whole thing.
Oh, I'm sure they are. These unsolved cases, they stay with you, especially when there's no closure. You're always left with this feeling that there's something more to uncover, something just out of reach.
So we've talked about the victims, the investigations, Smail Tulja, and the locations. What's the biggest takeaway for someone trying to understand the Butcher of Mons?
For me, it's the enduring nature of mystery. Even with all our advances in forensics and investigation, some cases just resist resolution. The Butcher of Mons reminds us that some secrets remain hidden no matter how hard we try to find the truth.
It's humbling, isn't it? Knowing that sometimes, despite our best efforts, we may never know the full story. It's like we're left with speculation, with these unanswered questions, and it's unsettling.
Absolutely. But it's also what keeps us coming back to these mysteries, right? This need to understand, to bring light to the darkness, even when it seems impossible.
Exactly. And even though this case has gone cold, it still fascinates people. It makes us think about the darkest parts of the human mind, the things that drive people to do such horrible things. It's a chilling journey into the heart of darkness, and it makes you realize how fragile life really is.
Yeah, it does.
So where does that leave us? We have 5 victims, a ton of unanswered questions, and a city marked by this killer who vanished without a trace.
It's a stark reminder that the world can be a dangerous place, that evil can be lurking anywhere, and that sometimes the monsters among us get away with their crimes. And that leaves us with fear and unanswered questions. It's a chilling thought, that no matter what we do, some mysteries may never be solved. It leaves us feeling uneasy and wanting answers that we may never get.
It makes you think, if the locations were chosen so carefully, maybe there's a deeper meaning to them. Could they be clues, messages left by the killer, just waiting for someone to decipher them?
Yeah.
It really is. Like, those locations are almost like a cipher,
Yeah.
a hidden message encoded in the city itself.
It is a fascinating thought.
It really is.
Those places, like silent witnesses holding on to those secrets,
Avenue des Bassins, the Haine River, Chemin de l'Inquiétude,
Yeah.
they become so much more than just streets.
Yeah.
It's almost like these eerie echoes of the crimes.
Absolutely.
And for the people who live there, in Mons,
Right.
those places must just weigh on them.
Of course, it's one thing to hear about it.
Right.
But to actually walk those streets,
Yeah.
knowing what happened there,
Yeah.
it must be a chilling feeling.
It must cast a shadow over their lives.
Definitely. They become like monuments to the unsolved, a constant reminder that even in ordinary places, darkness can take hold.
And the fact that he was never caught just makes it worse.
Oh, absolutely amplifies that unease for sure.
It's like a wound that never heals.
Yeah.
A scar on the city itself.
I see what you mean.
So as we get to the end of our deep dive into the Butcher of Mons, we're left with this unsettling feeling
Yeah.
that some stories just remain unfinished.
It's true.
Some mysteries just can't be solved.
I think that's the most haunting part.
It is.
This lack of resolution, this void where the answers should be.
Right, and that's where our imaginations just go wild.
Of course, trying to make sense of it.
Trying to find order in the chaos.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that despite all of our advancements,
Yeah.
our desire for justice,
Sometimes the darkness wins.
sometimes it does.
And we're left with these unanswered questions, the weight of knowing that the people who did this, they were never held responsible.
And it's those questions that compel us to keep searching. To keep asking questions,
keep digging.
even when the answers seem lost.
Exactly.
Maybe someone listening right now
Yeah.
holds a piece of the puzzle.
It's possible.
A detail that seems small,
Yeah.
but could be the key.
To unlocking it all.
Maybe they've been afraid to come forward,
Yeah.
or just haven't connected the dots.
It happens.
So if you have any information, anything at all, about the Butcher of Mons, we urge you to come forward.
It could be the missing link.
Could be what brings justice.
And peace to the families of the victims.
A sense of closure to a story that's been unfinished for so long.
Exactly. And your information could be what finally sheds light on this dark chapter in Mons' history.
Thank you all for joining us
Yeah, thank you.
for this journey into the heart of a mystery that continues to captivate